not the bruises on the body that hurt. It is the wounds of the heart and the scars on the mind. Why I refer to these scars on the mind is because today on the BizNation TV video podcast, we'll be talking about mental health and if it is still a taboo in India. And for that, we have a very young and dynamic leader who is Honorable Ambassador also, and he's Dr. Nabhit Kapur. He is the planning representative to World Fund for Development and to the United Nations New York SE. And he's also the advisor to the Vice President of Somaliland. And along with that, why we are talking about mental health with him on the BizNation TV video podcast today is because he's a very keen advocate of mental health as well. So a very warm welcome, Dr. Nabhit. A few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Udaiveer ji. It is nice to finally we get a chance to talk after such long ifs and buts. And congratulations on your event. We just happened in New Delhi, and I think all the best for your next event, which is going to happen in Dubai. And looking forward to seeing you there and discussing more that how we can collaborate for further events.
Definitely, sir. It will be my honor and pleasure to have you in Dubai as well. So beginning with our conversation today on mental health. And firstly, sir, I'd like to ask that what exactly triggered your interest in mental health? Why you thought of working on that?
There was actually no triggering point on mental health, to be honest, because I took up the subject of studying mental health in school. So it has been into my system since I was in class 11.
Okay.
So once I started studying, I got a lot of interest in it. And then I thought, why not to pursue my education into it? And when I took up this field of psychology, it was new in Delhi. And secondly, many boys did not take it. So there was a stigma. So the moment I took it up was a challenge for me. That how will I move forward? But I think with the flow, it all went very well. I had obstacles, and like every person we have. So we have to keep on moving with those challenges. Right. But it went well. I mean, and my interest came up into this field after I started studying it into deep. And it's a fascinating field.
It absolutely is, and we'll dig it deeper into that, how we'll be talking about that and why Dr. Nabhit is mentioning it is fascinating for people to be in that situation is not fascinating, but to talk about and how they can get out of that situation, it definitely is. So, Dr. Nabhit, what do you think? What are some of the causes and signs of initial mental health problems?
See, if you talk about mental health problem is a very broad term.
Right.
You can categorize it into severity, like in severities, you can categorize it from low, mild, moderate, and then you go to severe levels. A person like you, for example, a person like you or anybody else might be facing some difficulties in your life. You might not be able to getting out of it. You might need professional help or a counselor. So that's one kind of a problem. If these problems are untapped, unchecked, unintervened, it might get developed into full-blown anxiety, full-blown depression, full-blown panic attacks or something like that. That is a severe case where you go and refer to a psychiatrist and a psychologist.
Okay.
When both work on your mental health system.
So you get adverse, as you mentioned.
That is an adverse case, yes. But there are a lot of issues. There are a lot of causes which actually cause these kind of problems. Your family, you yourself, your environment where you're staying, could be genetics, could be your peer circle, could be your school.
Right.
Every human being has a tendency to develop a problem. But when the situation and the environment is conducive for it to come out, it surfaces.
Right.
So there is not such one kind of a cause I can actually brief you out. Anything in the environment these days you can see can trigger a mental health issue.
Okay, so it being a broad term, I'd like to dig into that. For example, I'll say that what advice can you give me about being a good friend? If I want to be a good friend for someone who has just been diagnosed with a mental health problem, how can I help as a separate human for that person being a friend?
Now, see, again, another thing I would like to clarify from your medium here is being a friend and giving an advice is different than referring a person to a professional and getting a help.
Right.
So as a friend, I would just, be there, listen to you, talk to you. Um, Friends generally interfere a lot, intervene a lot. Batao, please tell us. No, we were there. We understand and all those kind of things. But a professional will never say all these things.
Right.
So as a friend, yes, be there, listen to the person, try to be not in a close proximity with that person because the person might need some space, but be somewhere where a person can just look you around
Right.
and be available. That's all.
Okay, so that is the most basic thing a normal human can do for a friend. Or if he or she sees that something adverse is going to happen, they can definitely get them consulted with a professional, as you mentioned.
Yes.
So, sir, as a mental health advocate, you being yourself, uh, according to you, what kind of impact would you have at this particular point of time on the society? What impact you are making as a mental health advocate?
The kind of impact which I started off making now has actually changed. I started off as normal psychologist, as a professional who wants to tell people about mental health, that it is actually an important part of your life. But now I have changed into policy making. I have now changed myself into getting leaders who actually frame laws to come on
Right.
board to talk about mental health.
Uh-huh.
And that way, my advocacy has actually changed because now I work in a more intensive environment where I have to actually convince lawmakers to frame policies which will impact people. So that is also kind of advocacy which I do, and I keep on speaking. Another kind of an advocacy which I have been making is in my conversations and speeches which I have been giving around the globe. You have seen me majorly in Africa. My major, sit has been in Africa, African mental health, and
Is
people
it
there obviously.
is the African side of mental health more adverse than the Indian side? How would you compare those?
It's same. I mean, whatever is here, it's the same.
Okay.
I will not say it's adverse because there the basic living is also a problem.
Okay.
In some parts, I would say, not
You
everywhere.
would say that mental health is a bit of a privilege to think about.
Yes, it's a bit of a privilege to think about. And I make them think about that also because that is also important. Aaj
Okay.
nahi to kal it will be important. But yes, so in India, it has now obviously grown. I mean,
Right.
even after COVID, actually, it has all grown. And we have had a lot of cases during the COVID time also and after COVID also. Now I do not see a lot of patients because of the time constraints which I have.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but we did a lot of work. I mean, in COVID and after COVID also, and still we are doing a lot of. Now our next workshop is going to come up in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa,
Okay.
uh, on youth mental health. It's going to be a gathering of 500 people coming
Wow.
all over from Africa.
Mhm.
We've already started working on it. So these are the kind of advocacy programs which we keep on doing.
Okay. So, coming back to the Indian point of things, as you said that there was a ton of events after the pandemic happened, and even during the pandemic, as people were confined to their homes within the four boundaries. So, talking specifically about India, India has the youngest population, and mental health is certainly a not top topic here in Indian households. So, do you think that mental health is still a taboo? And according to you, what are some challenges in mental health that prevent people from seeking therapy and mental care here, particularly talking about India?
So you have asked me two questions here. So first question is that how the Indian households are tackling it. To be very honest, now Indian households are actually seeing it as a problem.
Okay.
Things have actually changed. Not very much changed, but there is a slight difference. You will see people are now uh, acknowledge that there is something called an issue which is happening, which you cannot
Probably that
see.
is why we are talking about it today.
Probably.
Yeah, because it has become
So,
a thing now.
so it has become a thing, but still there is a taboo and there is a stigma attached that in some sections of people that if we talk about it, what might people think? But
Mm-hmm.
now, if you see the young generation, which is now in college and schools, they have mental health like kuch bhi hame bol do, that's a mental health thing. Now the things have actually changed. Some people are actually taking advantage of this kind of thing, this kind of a phenomena, which is also not right. So things have changed. The taboo exists, but not that much as it was before.
How do you
And it will.
How would you classify that people are taking advantage of such kind of situation of anyone? If anyone is saying that they are going through mental health, how do you think a person is taking advantage, or if we can make people aware through this platform that how they can be took
Well,
advantage?
I'll give you a very strange example. Few years back only, now as I used to teach before, and many of the students started taking advantage of learning disability.
Okay.
Getting, that reports made for CBSE that we need extra hour to sit in exam and all those kind of things. So many people started taking advantage of it.
Right.
That correction is not there. Though we know the concept, we know now this thing is fine and mental health issues exist. I'm just giving an example that these correction issues are not yet tackled. किसको actually है और किसको actually नहीं है problem, वो अभी भी आप delineate नहीं कर सकते. Now a child who is very stubborn, or anybody in the family who is very stubborn, you talk to them, you want to scold them, you cannot scold them because ultimately mental health issue. Now the child has in the mind that if I will be scolded, I can use mental health issue as a concept wherein nobody will say anything to me.
Right. So
वो छोटी सी delineation हमारी खत्म हो गई है बिल्कुल. When you were in school or I was in school, we used to get slapped very easily.
Right.
And that slap used to work on
Right.
us. Now, if you scold the child or a student, it's a mental health issue.
And it can also be created as a fake scenario by the student or that child कि मैं mental health से जा रहा हूँ और मेरे को ऊपर से मार पड़ रही है.
हाँ, बस मेरा mental health issue हो गया है, stress हो गया है, मेरे को जाना ही नहीं है स्कूल, है ना. तो वो एक correction हमारी कहीं ना कहीं अभी भी missing है.
जी. Okay, I got it. So again, coming to that point, emotional part of the mental health part of the point, that what is the most essential thing that someone needs for a healthy emotional brain? How can they have a healthy functional emotional brain to avoid these kind of mental health issues?
See, mental health issues, everybody has it. I have stress, sometimes I have anxiety, you also might be having it, but we deal in our own way where we can sort out the issues. To be emotionally healthy, first of all, try looking the other side of the perspective, because an emotional unhealthy person will only see one side of the coin. They will not see the other side. So they have to start seeing the other side. Be hopeful. Think that you are worthy enough. And always start taking care of your emotions and others' emotions. And this is how you build up relationships. A healthy relationship is always important for an emotional healthy well-being. So जो emotional unhealthy people are there who are not able to tackle their own emotions, they will never be able to build up relationships and tackle others' emotions because they're themselves so much soaked up. So be hopeful and be positive. I mean, things can sort out. And if these things also don't work, try talking to somebody because you might get another perspective. So when sometimes our perspectives do not work.
So when you're talking here about like try talking to somebody or try being positive, can it be a counseling at school level, or do you think if not talking about school level, if it is an adult, if they want counseling, who should they refer to? Should that be directly a psychologist or a person who is dealing with the correction of mental health issues? What kind of counseling that kind of person should go for?
See, if you're talking about students or something, you can actually refer at the school level, not an issue. If you want to refer outside, find out a psychologist or a counselor near around your own proximity where you stay, or anywhere you want to go. But before even referring yourself to a professional help, try checking the credentials of the person. Very important. So you can, as an adult, there is no harm. You can even I have referred to a psychologist once or twice because sometimes I face issues, and that's not a problem. That's for my healthy well-being.
Right.
So for changing your own perspectives, sometimes you need a help.
Right. So, as you mentioned that anyone, you, me, anyone can go through stress. You have many career responsibilities as well. So, how do you balance your mental health with your career responsibilities?
I just balance out, I actually don't take enough stress. Very frankly and very honestly, I'm telling you.
Why I ask this question is because whenever small conversation I have had with you, you are either traveling or about to travel or in the way to travel. So there are a lot of things going back in a person's mind. It can be related to work, it can be related to family, and on that, and on top of that, you are every time traveling. So that's why I mix the question that what kind of mental health issues you face and how do you tackle with your career responsibilities? If you could give your perspective,
That's
it would help some people.
no, that's what I'm saying. My perspective is always see this the kind of life which I'm living.
Uh-huh.
This is exactly what I chose for myself,
Okay.
and I'm very happy with it.
Okay.
It's not forced upon me. This is the way I wanted my travels and my work to be. That I travel the world wherever I want to go, and I don't go for leisure. I go for work and leisure.
Uh-huh.
And most of my hours have been into the plane. That time which I get 6, 7, 8 hours in the plane, I have enough time to think about myself,
Uh-huh.
to balance out myself, and it works out because there nobody is going to distract you, honestly.
Right. So,
And
yeah.
whatever, even if any issues I'm facing, whether work, family, relationships, anything, I have those 8 hours to sort it out,
Right.
and it works. I mean, I have actually seen a lot of changes. Whenever even you're traveling for any kind of work, you have a set of procedures and protocols in mind. But that 8 hours also, I change a lot of things what I'm going to do into that country, wherever I'm going. So that me time is very important to balance your life. So
Right.
every person who's going to listen to this, whether you are traveling, not traveling, whether you have 9 to 10 job or whatever it is, take out me time
Right. So what
to
I
balance your emotions.
so what I learned from you when you initially began that how you are deal with the entire thing with your career, that if a person is following what they initially thought of or what their passion is and they are working on that, automatically the mental health issues will be very minimal. If the person is doing something they love, those mental health issues will not uh, surround that person. If he or she is doing whatever they love or what the thing their profession is similar to what they love and what their passion for.
Exactly. Exactly. And many a times people ask me question, what is your hobby?
Okay.
Now I don't have a set of hobby. My hobby is my work, which I do, and I do it very happily.
Okay.
Uh, Udaiveer ji, if you even call me at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll be awake. And people ask me what you do. Most
Huh.
people know me that I watch TV, but I don't watch TV. I
Okay.
am always on my laptop or something that I'm doing something. I'm researching, I'm writing papers, I'm connecting with people here and there because everybody there is a different time zone.
Right.
Every connection which I have has a different time zone.
Right.
तो वो अगले दिन मेरे को क्या करना है, मैं उसी दिन रात को वो शेड्यूल बना के अगले दिन जब उठूं तो वो शेड्यूल में एग्जीक्यूट कर देता हूँ.
Bilkul. So that automatically minimizes stress, pressure, and the anxiety one can have.
Exactly. And working at night actually is less stressful because you have nothing to do.
I relate to
And
that.
one more thing which balances my emotions and my which keeps my mental health intact is chanting the prayers, which I
Okay.
do every morning.
Okay.
I mean, आपके पीछे फोटो भी लगी हुई है, तो I go to
Hmm.
Gurudwara every day, every morning. Prakash ke time, I do that. I chant my prayers there. I come back home, and then I start doing my work till 6:30. I'm working, and then I go to sleep by 7 in the morning,
All right.
like
So
every day.
serenity, spirituality, and connection to God, being close to God, is also one of the things which can help a person.
Actually, it helps. I mean, at least you see a hope.
Right. So, talking about mental health further, that if a person is, suppose a person is going through counseling sessions or is seeing a psychologist, So, according to you, as you said, you've also been a keen mental health advocate and seen a lot of people through various sessions. So, what is the failure rate of people with mental illness during their recovery process? Or failure rate in the sense, do you think a person can go through such an extreme level, say for a suicide, even if they are going through the counseling sessions?
Yes, yes, yes. Honestly, I did not had cases like these, but my colleagues have had cases like these. That even after the person is under session and under treatment, they've actually committed suicide. But that was way back in hospital,
Okay.
not even in a private practice. The success rate is high, definitely, but failure rate is also there because the person comes to you for a session or any kind of an issue for only 45 minutes to 1 hour. But the rest 23 hours, he's in the same environment. Either we
Right.
change the environment, which we definitely recommend people, especially the families, to change the environment of the person. But some families do not accept it and do not agree to it. So obviously, the relapse rates are very high in those situations.
Okay.
I was when I was working with one of the mental health hospitals in Delhi during my internship days. I'm telling you, I had a cluster of OPD patients. OPD, why I'm saying the OPD, because they were daycare patients basically who had very severe psychosis.
Right.
And मेरे cluster में थे 5.
Okay.
And 3 of them were very educated, like they were masters in English literature. DU में पढ़ाते थे एक time पे. And their environment was not changing, so obviously their relapse rates are very high. One day, what happened? One of those patients started throwing things at me. And I was very new into this. I was like, what have I done? And I was very ashamed of myself also that I'm not able to tackle these kind of people. So then I got to know that their environments are not changing and their relapse rates are very high.
Right.
So most of the time they had to be kept in daycare so that their environment is changing.
Got it.
So yes, failure rate is also there.
Okay. So I understand that if along with that, if a person's mental health has declined, so what sort of activity you can suggest, or what sort of activity can they do to help organize their thoughts and feelings to better enjoy or understand life with less distress, with less anxiety, with less depression? What sort of activities would you recommend through this platform? Anything, a small counseling, or whatever you would recommend a person if they can learn through this?
Okay. First, I will change your word here. Mental health will never decline. It might not be stable in that sense. So,
Okay.
a person who is undergoing these kind of problems, or who is able to or about to go to these kind of problems, a person who is near to that kind of a person, let's say you are person A and another is person B. If person B is seeing some kind of symptoms, some symptoms surfacing or about to come up that might lead to an issue, start intervening in that level.
Okay.
If I see that Mr. Udaiveer, for example, is not behaving the same way he used to behave, I might ask him, are you okay? Do you need some help? I am always there. You can speak to me. You can trust me. There's a shoulder for you to cry. Whatever you want to do, I'm just a call away. This is called psychological first aid. So even before the problem develops and going to a professional help or medication, a person in a close proximity, like a family or a friend, can actually see the symptoms that why the person is behaving in a different way than normal, which is called psychological first aid. And this is what we have been doing, telling the person to intervene before a professional help is required.
A companion can be the first psychological first aid.
Like they say, when a person is about to commit suicide, it's just a fraction of second when you can save him.
Right.
So that kind of a talk is important for a person who is very close to that kind of a person who's about to develop some issue. You can actually talk it out, and it helps.
Right. It was a very good session. I have also learned a few points that if myself or someone close to me is dealing with such issues, how can we address them through a professional perspective, through to a normal person, and to the audience. They will also be able to get a point through this. So thank you so much, Dr. Nabhit, for joining.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to have you and meet you on 31st of May in Dubai for the conference.
Yes, 31st of May, yes, Dubai. Yes. So see you soon, sir, and looking forward to having more conversations with you. And thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for
Thank you. Thank you.